I'd like to know if you agree with something. Drove me nuts from the time I started in the league, still does. Back in the day, we called it film. We had film on the players. Then it was tape on the players. I think now it's video, right? It's not film anymore. It's not tape anymore.
Video. Yeah.
But here's what I have never understood is you can have film, tape, video on these players game after game after game. And yet there are team personnel who go to the combine and based on what they see in a 3-day period, change their views on a player. I have never understood why you won't simply rely on that which you've seen the player put forth on the field, but why people are so easily moved based on 3 days of meetings in which ridiculous questions are asked.
Well, I think it's a multitude of reasons, and I agree with you 100%. And I think there's a multitude of reasons why that happens. One, we so desperately, when I mean by we, I mean personnel people, media people, fans. We so desperately want to objectify this game that has so much subjectivity to it that we will, at this time of year, since it's kind of like almost like a recency bias thing. This is the latest, greatest thing we get to see. Guys running 40s, jumping in the, doing the vertical, doing the standing broad jump, doing the short shuttle, that we start to rely so heavily on it because one, it's the latest thing we see. Two, because we start going, we start hearing all these things being spit out about, guys who were this height, this weight, who had this vertical, had this broad. These are the guys who have the greatest chances for, ascending to becoming, all pro type of players. So and not only fans do that, personnel people do that too, because of the third thing I'm about to say, which is for personnel people, it's almost a combination of the first two. They don't always trust their eyes. They feel a need. There's been an increasing need to make the data be the almighty in terms of decision making instead of your subjective evaluation. And then three, let's just talk about like a guy like Russell Wilson, right? Why didn't Russell Wilson, when he came out of Wisconsin, go in the first round? You know how many times I've heard people say, well, if he had been 6'3", he would have gone, I would have taken him in the first. And the reason why people don't is because, I don't know if I can say this on air, but I'm going to say it's an ass covering mechanism.
Yep. You are so right.
What they're saying is if he fails and he's 5'11", 210, the owner's going to look at me a lot differently than if he fails and he's 6'3", 215 and runs 4'3". So I can't take the outlier, even if my film evaluation and my tape evaluation or my video evaluation says this guy does everything that an NFL quarterback needs to do. If he hits, I'm a genius. If he fails, I'm getting fired. The bigger guy, if he hits, well, of course he hits because of look at his measurables. If he fails, it ain't my fault. It must be the coach's fault.
No, it's a gamble. It's a gamble.
Exactly. So all they're doing, they're trying to minimize risk of being wrong and at the same time make sure that they're not the ones who are on the chopping block if he does fail. That's why this time of year so much. And it's easy. It's easy to it's easy to look at a sheet of 40 times in heights and weights and arm lengths and hand sizes and verticals and just go, I want that one, that one, that one. And a lot of people who come into the process at this time aren't going to sit down and watch 4 or 5 games of an offensive guard and try and pick out the best 3 techniques he went against and see whether or not he can anchor, slide his feet, and redirect versus finesse, see how good he is as a puller out on screen. They don't care. They just want to know who's the biggest, strongest, fastest guy, and the coach is supposed to make him a great player.
Check out new episodes of What the Football with Suzy Shuster and Amy Trask every Tuesday. Watch us on the Rich Eisen Show YouTube page or follow and listen wherever you get your podcasts.